reason why I wanted to have this conversation here, we've heard from a lot of the bigger players in media, in AI, and in ad tech. Zeta Global is a company that I believe almost uniquely, or at least certainly rarely, operates at the intersection of ad tech and martech. You've got a sort of unique strategy that many others have not pursued, and I'm just curious, what did you see in the vision or the strategy to pursue that sort of dual-pronged approach to providing, being as an intermediary for digital marketing?
It's interesting. As you grow the company, you get bigger, you get public, people, really decide to box you up, right? So people say, are you marketing tech? Are you ad tech? Are you data? Are you AI? Are you activation? Are you CRM? And the answer is yes. We didn't sort of set out to break new ground. We set out to solve chief marketing officers' problems. And when we looked at the creation of our data cloud, and then in 2017, when we re-architected the Zeta marketing platform to focus, we did a complete new relaunch. Imagine sitting with a bunch of private equity backers. You're making, pretty good money. And I'm like, yeah, I think the platforms we bought over the years are antiquated. They're not going to work. And I think we need to take 400 engineers and spend 3 years building a new platform to put this thing you've never heard of called AI and data as native to the application layer. It was not a popular board meeting. We were able to get it through. And then in 2021, we launched the Zeta marketing platform and officially launched our data cloud, which were fully integrated. And there are components of the tech stack which are really important for CMOs and agencies to keep separate. And then there are components that we believe need to be combined into one solution set. So if you think about it, most of our competitors in the marketing cloud space, they'll have a platform, they bought it 10 years ago, they'll step out of that platform to query an algorithm, the algorithm will do a data dip, the data dip will come back to the algorithm, and it'll add the intelligence to create an action inside of the marketing cloud. We came at it where that sort of tech debt and latency created massive destruction of value. Whereas if we can do everything in one core element, we can come to decisioning in a millisecond that takes them much, much longer. And we're able to create generally for every dollar an enterprise spends through our platform, call it $7 to $10 in revenue in return. But you're taking the data, the AI to figure out the intent of the individual. You're then able to activate through either CRM, through programmatic, through connected television, through mobile, and through some unique relationships into the walled gardens directly. So by putting all of that into one UI with one reporting interface, it sort of seems to be what the CMOs and some of the agency holdcos seem to be buying.
But if I were to characterize most of the companies in the ecosystem, I would describe them as point solutions that do things like, that it seems like you aggregate, like identity resolution, data aggregation, media execution, CRM. All of those things tend to be sold in silos.
Yeah.
How challenging is it to convince the CMO? But first of all, to whom are you selling?
Well, it's certainly the CMO's office.
The CMO's office,
yeah, I mean,
right.
or to an agency.
But they want the whole package?
No, so unfortunately, they often buy one solution set. But to put it in perspective, our average client, when we went public in June of 2021, used 1.2 of our products. Today, our average client uses 4. So in just 3 years...
What's the denominator? How many products?
Oh, we have 12 channels across 3 use cases, and then you can sort of extrapolate from there. And it's been really interesting. In fact, what we found is enterprises that use us for more than one use case, now a use case would be customer acquisition, customer retention, and customer monetization, spend 3 or 4 times the money with us and have off the charts net retention rate. So to put it in perspective, last year our net retention rate as an enterprise was 114%. And these organizations that are using more than one use case are substantially higher than that because it starts a flywheel. When you do the acquisition, you get smarter on retention. When you do the retention, you get smarter on monetization. And because it's all algorithm-based. So another thing I like to point out is in the last 3 years, we've grown the business on a compounded growth rate of greater than 30% top line, greater than 50% EBITDA, and substantially higher than that from a free cash flow perspective. If you look at clients that have adopted our AI Agent Studio, of which we're not talking about V1, we're on V3 now, and we started agentic workflows over a year ago, they grew at greater than 44%.
Right.
So literally, and not to jump ahead to agentic workflows, but our goal is to automate everything. And that's one of the ways we do all of this. Like, you just couldn't do all these use cases in one UI with one reporting infrastructure if you didn't have automation. And when we started, it was automation, then it became deep learning, then machine learning, now we all call it AI. But the reality is that it's mostly natural language processing behind the scenes, and then we use generative AI to remove the friction between the user of the platform and the way the platform operates. Right. So you can literally use the Gen AI that lives inside of the consumer data platform we build for every one of our customers. What's interesting is as we've strung multiple agents together, and today we've announced publicly we have, for existing clients, strung 3 AI agents together into one use case. We've got a 4th that's in beta that I'm not supposed to talk about, but can. What we found, Terry, is each agent you add to the existing workflow, because it's remembering everything from the first use case all the way through, is a step function better at return on investment than just one. So 1 + 1 is 10, 1 + 1 + 1 is 100. Right. So you might have one AI agent that is building a custom deterministic credit-approved audience. You might have another agent that's figuring out the absolute best place to target them. The third agent is overseeing it and doing the attribution for the first 2 because it's feeding back into the CRM loop, and it's in real time informing the first 2 agents on what audience is best, how do we better fine-tune it, and what channels are best, how do we better fine-tune that. And we have clients that are seeing a 300% to 400% better return on investment using the agentic workflow in that solution set.
In this morning's discussion, we talked about AI as being, it's not build versus buy, it's build fast or buy fast. You basically, it's table stakes, you got to have this capability, and sounds like you started years ago. I tell companies that ask, when should we enter AI? I'm like,
yeah, too late.
Yeah, no, it's not too late, but you can buy and catch up.
Yes.
I'm curious, always.
Always the banker, Terry.
Yeah, when you're hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Well, you got to pay for this amazing space.
Exactly. So operating MarTech companies tends to be on a SaaS model, and that's a different mentality in terms of how you grow your business. It's a different mentality in terms of how you sell the product, whereas ad tech tends to be, volume-based take rate or volumetric sort of revenue model. How do you charge and how do you manage a business with those 2 very divergent parameters?
Well, we don't look at it that way.
Okay.
Once again, we charge a subscription fee and a utilization fee.
Okay.
And that utilization fee might be in the form of a CPM rate, and the subscription fee might be for the CDP, access to the data cloud, access to the algorithms, and messaging around CRM. So we don't really look at it. Over 87%, I'm sure I'll be wrong, my CFO will call me later, but approximately 87% or greater of our revenue is contracted out at least a year. And most of what we're doing as an organization goes out 2 or 3 years between the subscription fees and the utilization fees. One of the things I think we did that was different was by using that pricing schema, we could start very small. We have one client in particular who's a very large automotive insurance company that started out with us, one use case, one channel, 5 to 7 years ago on a $50,000 test. They will They are now a $100 million plus customer. So, and by the way, 5 years ago, we could have never imagined $100 million customers. Now we're looking at how do we get to 25 of them over the next number of years. But if we had kept everything pure subscription, we would have never scaled like that.
Right.
If we kept everything pure utilization fees, we would have never gotten them into the data cloud and using the software that allowed them to expand out. They're now using 7 or 8 different channels and 2 use cases.
Right.
So, as I think most organizations come at it, and listen, we compete with a few small companies, right? We're competing with some of the biggest players on the planet. We needed a differentiated approach to selling, and my whole strategy was test it.
Right.
If we can't create better return on investment than our competitors, then you should not use our platform.
And ultimately, I think you want to sell a product the way a customer wants to buy a product.
Yeah.
So,
well, everybody asks me all the time, how are we growing so quickly, obviously much, much faster than the market? And I say, if you build a superior product to your competitors and you charge a lower price for it, and you're nice to them while you're doing it, while understanding what their problems are, they tend to buy more of it.
So you've built products. You mentioned the agentic workflow and Agent Studio. You've also bought a lot of companies.
We have.
11 by my last count.
16.
16, okay.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
there missed 5 of them.
You only sold us 11 of them.
There you
so
go.
that might be the problem.
How do you think about buy versus build? And what drives your M&A strategy in terms of how you prioritize what makes for a juicy looking target?
Well, first, we always want either a unique data set, a unique channel, and a spectacular team. Unlike a lot of companies that built marketing clouds, we don't look at our business as a container. They've bought a bunch of companies, they shove them in, they consolidate HR, legal, and accounting to the top, and they go from there. We have 5 pillars of our M&A, and with 2 minutes and 52 seconds left, I won't go through all of them. But number 1 is we have to feel like we can integrate from a technology team and customer perspective 100% of that business within 12 months, or we do not do the deal. We just bought Live Intent. I believe it closed early October, and we integrated that within 4 months, which was fast for us. But we had already been partnering with them and had already worked with them. But that was a perfect example. Matt had built just an incredible company. They had sort of the top 1,000 publishers, and we own Discuss, which has sort of the next 5.2 million. So by putting it together, it was really unique, and adding their sort of programmatic into messaging platform, and then their hero platform, which works with a lot of the people in this room, which we're going to continue to support. So just to make sure that's clear. But the reality is that to have integrated that in, why did we want it? We really wanted access to the data. We really saw that as a unique data opportunity. And Matt's a unique guy. He's built some incredible companies. We were super excited to have him on the team, and super excited to have him on the team. But at the same time, we were able to fully integrate the tech within, I think it was like 107 to 108 days.
Right. Fantastic. So last fall, after 15 straight quarters of beat and raise.
No, that was this first quarter of 2025 was officially our 15th quarter in a row of beating guidance and raising guidance.
Okay. So,
last fall was 13 or 14.
Right, got it. But in the fall, a short seller attacked you.
They did?
Yeah, came out with research, put on a short position.
Who knew?
And went after your stock. And
me. And my wife.
And you. I don't know about the wife.
Oh, they were.
And you, interestingly, went on the offensive. You decided. Tell me about what that felt like, how you decided to address it, and what you learned from that experience so far.
First of all, let's start by saying it felt shitty.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't feel good to have an organization of one individual publish a report that, called into question our accounting, our data processes, me personally. And, listen, often those reports act as a rallying cry to a bunch of shorts who are going to target your company. And we felt it was very important, Terry, that we set the record straight, and we brought in our audit committee brought in a forensic accounting firm. We brought in the top law firms in Washington, D.C. in the world. They did a full audit of our financials. They did a full audit of our data practices, and they found zero merit to all of those things. So we felt it was very important to be aggressive about making it clear that these were lies about our company. Right. And, listen, you sort of take it in the shorts, whether you like it or not, literally and figuratively. Right. And, you just build back. And from my research, generally it takes between 2 and 4 quarters of executing to get back to where you were. We're halfway in that process. Right. That happened in very late November, early December. We had also priced a fairly sizable, for us, secondary in September, and the stock had traded up 60, 70% from the secondary. Right. So you had a new shareholder base, end of the year, everybody was up a ton. We got hit with the short report. A number of the organizations that had made a lot of money wanted to lock profit in and did. And listen,
so your strategy is to prove them wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's all you can do.
Right.
You continue to execute. Yep. We've now beat and raised 2 quarters since then. The stock's come back a bit, and I think it'll get back to where it was. I can't make a projection as to where the stock price is going to go because I'm not allowed to do that, and I get in trouble, and 2 people in the room will kick me when I get off the stage. But at the end of the day, there's only one thing we can do as an organization, and anybody who runs a company understands this. You execute, you fight through adversity, and if you can continue to prove your critics wrong, you will show them that you are the one in the arena and they are not, and that is why they are critics and they are not what counts.
All right. Well, to one of the men in the arena, Dave Steinberg, thank you very much.
Thanks, Terry. Appreciate it.